You're listening to Productivity Monsters in the Morning. We are the energy vault your real estate business needs to get you up and out and excited and productive for the day. We go over trending topics and things that really matter in the market of the moment. Here are your hosts, Tiffany Hampton and Brooke Silva. Good morning, Tiffany.
Good morning, Brooke. How are you today?
I am excellent. And I'm excited to talk to you about today's topic because I was listening to a podcast on the way in. I listened to a ton of them. And this one was actually a comedy podcast, but the comedian was talking about something that comedians do to themselves. And it just got me thinking about, we all do this. It doesn't matter where you are in the world or what you do, we all self-sabotage. And it came up in my world this morning because I was struggling, as short as I am, to back out of somewhere I was surrounded by large trucks, so I couldn't see a thing. And I got so mad at myself. And I was like, you idiot, you should have backed in. This is why you should have backed in. Yep. And I sat there and beat myself up instead of being like, why don't I just wait 2 minutes for the guy who's walking out to move his truck or slowly back out?
Right. Well, when you mentioned that this is the topic you wanted to talk to, I was like so excited because, we're surrounded with mentors and great coaches. And about 2 months ago, one of my awesome coaches was like, hey, your soundtracks and your chatter are not doing you any service. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then he assigns 2 books. So you know me and my books. Yes. So essentially, before we get into that, let's talk about our affirmation.
Well, our affirmation today is a good one because we're going to tell ourselves, I let go of the self-sabotage.
I let go of the self-sabotage.
I let go of the self-sabotage. And what the comedian I was listening to went on to say was she would never speak to her children the way she speaks to herself or somebody she highly respects. And I've said that so often in classes to the people who are, I'm not tech savvy. I can't run computers. I don't know how to do these things. I'm not smart. And I'm like, but I just sat there and did it to myself. And it was so fast. And it happened in the blink of an eye. And what I think is important to point out is we're allowed to have those moments of doubt. Like we're allowed to feel the feels and get aggravated and do all these things. I never think we should dismiss emotion, but what we can't do is put ourselves down, because that was at 6:45 this morning. If I had not have let go of that thought, like, hey, you bonehead, stop sitting here self-sabotaging over the silliest thing, that could have ruined or changed the trajectory of what's going to be a really good day.
Yeah. And, so the first to bring back, because you're going to all want to read this book. The one book was Soundtracks, and it's written by, I think, Jon Acuff, if I have it right. And essentially he asks the question, when you have that first thought, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Right? So were you being kind to yourself this morning? Right?
No.
So stop it. But the problem is, it's the stop it part that's the problem, right? Because a lot of times with the 20,000 different sound bites that go into our brain on a daily basis, that back thought that we're not even paying attention to, we have to learn how to pay attention to it.
We do. And I think because you and I read so many books, right? And I've heard this before, and it's so true. It's every self-help or motivational book is the same. It's just how you connect to the author and how they say it. It doesn't matter what we read, or it's the same things. It's just, how does it resonate with you, right? How does it fit into your world? Is the speaker someone who just clicks for you, or how you read it, or when you read it? But because you and I speak about this so often, and you coach me on these things as well, I was able to, within seconds, I laughed at myself. I was like, that is not true. Yes, you're short and you cannot change that. But have some patience. You're not dumb. You can back in. You can do hard things. This is not helpful. We're going to have a better day. And you're going to sit here and laugh about it for a minute, that how ridiculous. This is actually ridiculous that I am like this little, I look like a Hot Wheels car between two, like,
monster trucks.
They were like tree removal trucks, right? I was like, this is like, I laughed it off after because, my husband would have backed right out. You would have backed right out. And I was like, I can do hard things. I can back right out or wait 2 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, when we look at all of this, we can make the decision of, I'm going to live in that, whatever that thought is, for a month, a year, a week, a day, a minute, 30 minutes, right? But that's the discipline.
Yeah. Or so just recognizing it, right? Because we've talked about this. And I bet you our friends at home are going to be like, oh, I did that today. I was like, you dummy. Like how would you say that to your kid every time they can't draw the letter A or a heart? You'd be like, you dummy.
Yeah. Well, then, so after I read the book Soundtracks, I went into this book called Chatter by Ethan Kross. And Ethan Kross literally said in the book, it's funny how, and I'll give you an example. So after I read the book, I turned around and I was like, the next morning I woke up and I was like, today I'm going to exercise. I'm going to get on my Peloton. And immediately my inner thought said, no, you're not. You're not going to do that.
We know you.
And I was like, oh my God. And I was able to recognize the chatter because literally I just read the book the night before, right? And I was like, how many times have I done that in my life? And where does it stop me from growing? And it's such an unconscious habit.
And we say, and I don't like that. There's a few words I try to remove from my vocabulary. Just as one of them. It has its places. Yeah. To me, it's a weak word. I was just checking in. It makes me feel like meek and less confident. But the other word we've got to try to remove is should, because it's so inherently negative. And I think the name of the person who talks about this, I think her name is Ann Shoemaker. I'll have to double check that. But she says the word actually results in feelings of anxiety and frustration and inadequacy or even self-rejection. So when I say I should have just backed up, all of a sudden it's like, girl, you're going to back up because you can see, oh, also you have a backup camera. Like, hello, duh. But should lives, I should pick up the phone and call my past clients. I should reach out. You've already told yourself you're not going to do it. So our affirmation today of working on those soundtracks and chatter, I let go of the self-sabotage. Didn't say I wasn't going to feel it. Mm-hmm. But now I'm also aware. Right. And awareness is a cool place to be, because while you do it, you can then turn it into a game, right? You can then turn it into all these things that turn it into a positive experience and not the self-loathing, sabotage, anxiety-inducing habit that we've done to ourselves.
One, what I love even more about it is now you know.
You know, and now you know better.
So now it's a choice, right?
Right.
Now it's a choice. Because before it's the 4 quadrants, right? Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, unconscious incompetence, and then conscious competence. Yeah.
Right? Think about this like driver's ed. That's how I always remember those quadrants. You don't know what you don't know until when you hop in a car, right? And then all of a sudden one day you get home and you're like, ooh, I don't remember driving home.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I said that to my son the other day. We were driving back and I was like, I don't remember getting on this road. I was like, how did I do that? Right? Because it's unconscious confidence.
You just do.
You just do.
And so we've got to get to a point where we get rid of that. We stop the self-loathing. We stop, because that is a productivity killer. And that's actually why we're bringing this up. This is a productivity killer, because if you're starting your days with shoulda, wouldas, or self-loathing, or frustration already. Let's flip it. So we've got to get to a point where I will, I'm going to, my first step is I'm going to do this.
Right.
Right. I will do this.
Right.
And let go of those. The soundtrack in your head. You ever hear your kids, like they've got their headphones on and they're singing, and in their head, they probably think they sound
wonderful.
Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, they are amazing singers of the world. But then you shut the music off and it's maybe not so wonderful.
Right.
And that's what we're doing to in our heads. We're saying these things to ourselves. We are Celine Dion. We are Mariah Carey. And we are Beyonce. We got to take those headphones off and listen to the real soundtrack. Say it out loud. That's what I did to myself this morning. I literally said it out loud and I was like, Brooke.
Yeah. Because those out loud words, I did that same thing. Like when I woke up and I was like, that's not true. Like I literally said out loud, that is not true. I cannot believe my brain just did that to me. Like,
it's not true at all. It's not true at all. All right. So we've given them their affirmation, which is I let go of the sabotage, the self-sabotage. If you don't like the word sabotage, do the self-hatred. Yep. My productivity tech moment for you is to actually, if you find yourself after this and you're like, whoa, girls, that's me. I need to stop that. And I don't need a productivity killer to start my day. Put it on your phone. Put it on your phone as an alarm you can type out anything in the alarms, right? So put it on your alarm. I let go of the self-sabotage. But do it in a way where you would be walking out the door into your car or before you're walking into the building. We all walk in and do the same things most mornings. Do it 10 minutes after your first alarm. If you're a snoozer, put it as your 6th alarm, but put it somewhere. Don't worry about putting it on your computer. Put it in a place where every day you're going to see that until one day you wake up or you start to listen to the soundtrack or chatter. Yep. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not listening to you today. What do we call that in bold? What is the chatter?
Oh, it's
drunk monkey.
Oh yeah.
And get rid of the drunk monkey telling you what to do.
Well, and it's true because, and what I love about both of our revelations that we both had is we took that internal voice and we used our out loud voice to say, no, that's not true. And that would be my coaching action for you. Every time you did, no matter who cares who you be crazy. Like if you're literally having I know, I'm not worried about you with that. If you're having that thought in your head, say that's not true.
That's not true.
Write it down. Because here's the deal. You have to train your brain how to treat you, just like you have to train people how to treat you.
Right. So you say it out loud. It's not true. That is not helpful. This is not kind.
Right.
So it's not true. This isn't helping me. So me this morning backing up. I know how to drive. I know how to back up. I am 10 feet tall. It is not helpful to sit here and complain. Just do it. And you are not being kind to yourself. While I am short and I can't change that, I changed the rest of it. And then I sat there laughing for a minute like a maniac at myself. So in the situation, I think, and that's the other thing, is I use humor probably a little too often sometimes, but now I laughed at myself for a good chunk of time before hopping back onto that podcast after getting my coffee.
And I just have to say, Brooke, you are a giant in my world.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I think that's a great way to end our show today.
Absolutely.
We really hope this helps everyone who may be listening to that little drunk monkey sitting on their shoulder. We all go through it. And I think that's the other thing. We all go through it. So you've been listening to Productivity Monsters in the Morning. I'm Brooke Silva, my friend, wherever you are.
Tiffany Hampton.
And if you want the books, we're going to put them in the show notes below. We'll get those books and I will find the article about the word shouldn't. So take a peek, read it, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.